Right. I'll just give a bit of background for people who are just tuning in. So tell me if I'm getting any of this
Okay.
wrong. So basically, someone on my forum suggested I should do a debate with someone from Climate the movie, and Tom came into the conversation and said, "Well, look, I'll debate you because Tom's the producer of that movie." I was very critical of it, and so I always have this option for people that I criticize. I always like to give them a fair go at responding. So I said, sure. We basically I suggested three topics each that we could discuss in turn. Tom's three topics were the urban heat island effect, which his movie talked about. And then I'll quote this, these two graph corrections in inverted commas that you made and he showed a couple of graphs that were on his X profile. And the third one, your BS, which I assume means beautifully structured.
It does not.
Is
No,
that what that stands for? Your
no.
BS suggestion that you followed the money in quotation marks and correctly concluded that the CO2 coalition funded this movie. And I put in my three. The first one is, according to the movie, CO2 has never driven temperature. And ice ages start when CO2 is at its maximum, and ice ages end when CO2 is at its minimum. So basically, the CO2 correlation, which I disputed. Second one was in the movie, you suggest that galactic rays may cause global warming for reasons explained in the movie. In my rebuttal, I said that such a link is not credible. And finally, I also wanted to do what's called the Lundqvist reconstruction, which is the reconstruction of temperatures over the last 2,000 years, which was one of the ones that Tom also wanted to look at, which he put on the X, his X account. Have I summed that up very nicely?
Yep, that sounds good. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And since you have, I'm happy to let you go first. I suggested we go with the graphs you had a problem with simply because that was the one we both chose, but it's entirely up to you, Tom.
Yeah, let's do that. One thing I would like to do is to make sure there's plenty of give and take here, and I want to make sure that my audience hears everything that you have to say. So I'd hope that we don't filibuster and try to keep our answers short and snappy. I think that would be great. So,
Okay, I'll give you an assurance. My answers may not be short and snappy. Science is never short and snappy. Sometimes it's
yep.
complicated, but what I'll do is I won't interrupt you. I'll let you have your say if you can let me have my say. We'll try and keep the times even if we can, but I do have a bit of explanation to do.
Okay. All right. So let's start by talking about these graphs. I think that's a great thing to start talking about. It's a general hockey stick thing about the Lundqvist, I don't know how to pronounce that, and Marquardt. This whole idea that as we look in the past, that there is supposed to be a handle and a blade. It's supposed to be pretty much not changing very much throughout the last maybe 6,000 years or so. Not much change, not many warm periods or cold periods. And then when humans started emitting CO2, then there's a sharp blade that comes up. And that is clearly caused by humans because it's correlated with us burning coal. I dispute all of that. That is not correct in any way. The evidence does not support that. That the Earth's climate varies on many different time scales, and you can't just ignore these warm periods. The IPCC back in 1990, they showed a nice big global medieval warm period. It actually said the word global in the IPCC, and I think it was. There's tons of studies that show that. So anyway, the handle of the hockey stick is not correct. And then the blade also is just grafted on there. That proxies don't show what the warmists want to show us towards the end. So they get rid of the proxies and then they just graft on this temperature record, which itself is suspect. So I dispute all parts of the hockey stick. And I think that's a big reason why people believe that humans are destroying the planet, because they believe in this hockey stick, which is not supported by evidence.
Okay, right. Well, let's take a look. Um, I'm obviously, not a climatologist. I'm just here to explain my criticism of your movie, and you wanted the opportunity to explain why your movie got things right. So,
Yes. And by the way, you did criticize me for not being a paleoclimatologist, but we're both taking into this, and neither one of us
oh,
is
I'm
a
not. I'm
paleo.
not
Yeah.
either.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
not a criticism. I'm
Yeah.
not sure what your field is, but
Yeah.
it does. Look, not everyone's a paleoclimatologist.
Right.
I wouldn't take that. Sorry,
Right.
sorry if you took that personally,
Yeah.
or whatever I said. I don't know what I said, but it was in reference to if you made. Oh, I remember what it was. It was the CO2 correlation. You made a statement about that. you offered no evidence, and I thought, well, yeah, but if there's no evidence and you're not an expert, then I could say anything I like without any backup, and I'm not an expert either. So I'm in the same boat you are. I'm not an expert in this
Yeah,
field.
and of course, there is no correlation as you look at all the different warm and cold periods over time, short term and long term. You cannot say that CO2 drove them because you're telling us that CO2 stayed at kind of the same level, but yet we have all this fluctuating of temperatures. So climate is way more complicated than just a simple driven by CO2 thing.
Okay. Now I'm going to just show the graph if you don't mind, because
Okay, I didn't know that we were sharing screens. You didn't tell me about that.
if we can't talk about a graph without showing the graph.
Okay, it would be nice if you had mentioned that beforehand. I don't know if you even gave me permission to share screens, but
Oh,
let's
yeah,
go
you
ahead.
need permission to
Yeah,
share a screen. Sorry, I'm sure you can
yeah.
share screens from your end.
Yeah,
And
you actually have to give me permission, but I'm not set up to do that anyway. I didn't realize we were doing that, but you have to give me permission as host to do that.
okay, well, I
Yeah.
think probably we'll be using the same ones anyway.
All right, let's go
I've
for
got
it.
your next thing here, but let's have a look. How the hell do you share a screen on this thing? Ah, dear. Okay, this is what you showed, and so we'll take each of them in turn.
Yeah.
That's the Marcotte reconstruction of the Holocene. I'll deal with that one in a second because this is the one that we both wanted to talk about. Now this comes from your film, and again, do tell me if I'm explaining any of this wrong because you copied this from Lundqvist. It shows the last 2,000 years. You've got it marked Roman warm period, Cold Dark Age, medieval warm period, and so on. And I don't know if you can see on the right-hand side, because at the moment I've got something obscuring it. On the right-hand side there, it just goes up to the end, and then it says current, which is current temperatures. Now, here's the problem I had with it. Sorry. Um, you reference this as Lundqvist 2000. It's not actually, it's 2010, but that's a minor mistake. That's not a big problem. It's also not global temperatures, as it says in the title. These are northern hemisphere temperatures above the Tropic of Cancer. So they're not global. But again, that would normally be something I might pick up on, but that's just another mistake. But here's the graph that you copied from the 2010 paper. Here it is a bit bigger. Now, can you see the right-hand side there, or is
I
the
could see it. It looks great. I see it.
on my screen it's obscuring it, and I'm not sure. Oh, there we can move it. There we go. Um, okay, that's the Lundqvist graph, and if we look at yours,
So the dotted part is not part of his graph. It's added on, and he does not even defend the dotted part. Marcotte
okay,
himself does not defend that.
that's what we're here to talk about, Tom.
Yep.
On the right-hand side there, he's got the instrumental temperature data
Yep.
marked in there. Now, when you reproduce it, you take that out.
Yes, because that's not part of his graph. And let me read you what he said about that part that's been
Yeah.
added on. Okay. Response by Marcotte himself. The global paleo temperature reconstruction includes a so-called uptick in temperatures during the 20th century. However, in the paper, we make the point that this particular feature is of shorter duration than the inherent smoothing in our statistical averaging procedure, and that it is based on only a few available paleo reconstructions of the type that we use. Thus, this is the important part. The 20th century portion of our paleo temperature stack is not statistically robust, cannot be considered representative of global temperature changes, and therefore is not the basis of any of our conclusions. So he just stepped way back from that because you can't just graph that on there. This is, if you're looking at Marcotte, he's stepping away from the dotted part because that's not science. It's
Okay.
grafted on to try to sell this idea that the Earth is warming fast. So if you look at his actual proxies, they don't show any spike of doom. And that's the case of all of these hockey sticks. None of them show a spike of doom. You can go on and on. There's tons of them that show that it was warmer in the past with no spike of doom at the end. So this is a critical part of this whole debate about whether we can trust the spike of doom, and we can't. It's not science.
Okay, I didn't want to interrupt you,
Thank
but
you.
we're not talking about the same graph. This isn't Marcotte. This is Lundqvist.
It's all of them. They all have the spike of doom. You mentioned Marcotte earlier. They all have the spike of doom. It's all the same thing. They all
But,
do. Man's hockey stick, they're all the same.
but we are looking at a different graph. Whether or not you
Okay.
think it's all the same thing doesn't matter.
Okay.
You can't look at this graph and say, but Marcotte said this wasn't statistically relevant and so on. We're not talking about the Marcotte. We will come on to that. So just be patient. We'll
Okay.
come on to Marcotte in a
Our
second.
first topic was Marcotte and Lundquist.
Yes.
It
So
was. This is our
first
topic.
we're
I'm
looking
on
at
topic.
first we'll look at the Lundqvist graph.
Okay.
And what I want to point out is that when you recreated this and you claimed that this was Lundqvist's graph, you took out the period of warming at the end. Now, whether you believe that that's relevant or not, and you haven't quoted Lundqvist saying that's not relevant, this is your belief that it's not relevant. Whether you believe that or not, you have said that in the movie, and you've put this as you can see how you put this as current temperature. Now, the temperature that is shown here, and these are the dotted line is the instrumental temperature data. It matches the proxies quite well, but of course, if you go back 2,000 years, we don't have proxies, and that's why they have to add in the modern temperature data to show it. And if you look at that dotted graph, it matches the proxies. It goes up quite nicely. This is in a peer review.
No, it doesn't match. It does not match the proxies. It does not.
Tom, nope. I'm looking at it.
Yep.
You'll have your say in a second. Let me just finish.
All right.
You took that out, whether or not you believe it or not, and you can make all the arguments in the world that you don't think it's justified, but you didn't say that in the movie. What you told people in the movie is this is his reconstruction, and you put in current temperatures when in fact the dotted line only goes up to 1990.
No, we showed the actual graph. We showed the actual reconstruction. That was the reconstruction without that dotted line of doom on the end. You can't just add that on. We showed the actual thing, and his proxies do not show the spike of doom. So I know you want to believe in the spike of doom, but it's not real. So we're showing you the actual thing, and if you're saying, oh, we didn't show this thing that's not in his reconstruction, well, we didn't because it's not in there.
Okay, this is his reconstruction that I showed you. It was in his paper.
Without the dotted line. The reconstruction is without the dotted line. See, the dotted line goes higher than the reconstruction. That's a very important thing. His reconstruction shows a warm medieval warm period. You can't just add in this extra dotted line and say, hey, this is part of his, because it's not. I don't think he doesn't like the fact that the dotted line, that his proxies didn't show this dotted line, but they didn't. And this whole idea that we can trust trees or proxies for all of time until 1960 or something, and then suddenly we can't trust them anymore and we have to use instrumental. It's because the proxies don't show what you want them to show. And this is a very key point. They don't.
You're still not getting it.
I'm getting it.
Just listen a second. I get that you're very passionate about this. I get that you don't believe in the modern warming temperatures. I get all that. I understand that. But it's not very honest to tell people that this is his reconstruction because you've taken out, just a minute, you've taken out the last period of warming because you don't believe in it. So you'll just take it out and tell people this is what it looks like. And hang on a sec. Tell them that this is current temperature. Now, the proxies only go up to the 1980s. So this is not current temperature. That's you're not giving people. Now, I do agree. If you look at I've transposed one over the other. This is your graph in your movie superimposed on Lundqvist's original. Okay.
Yep. There's a dot. Yeah, there is a spike of doom on there that's not in his study. It's not there. We're showing what's in his study. So again, the spike of doom is BS. It's very important for people to understand that.
You believe that. You said that.
Incredibly important. There's like a $50 trillion scam based on this spike of doom that is not real.
I'm not
very important.
Yep. I'm not questioning your beliefs, Tom. I understand you believe that. You have, if you see the two, one superimposed on the other, I do agree that you followed Lundqvist absolutely, which makes me wonder, why didn't you just show the original graph? Well, because you don't believe the original graph. So
no, it's not in there. The spike of doom is not in there. We've made this point. Maybe we should move on. We disagree, but that spike of doom is not in there. It's not in any of them because proxies don't show a spike of doom. It would be great for your side if they did, but they don't. Absolutely don't.
This is what I'm showing you on the screen now. This is paper. It's there. Whether you believe it or not, that's entirely up to you, but it is there. And
it's not in his reconstruction. His proxy reconstruction do not show a spike of doom, but I've said that many a time. Maybe we should move on because
several times, but I'm looking at it. He's
Yep.
showing it in the paper. It's in the paper. You claim to have reproduced his graph on your movie, but you took out the last period of warming and you only took it up to 1989. That was the date of the last proxy, and you've shown this as being current temperature. It's not current temperature. If you're only showing the proxies, this was the temperature going back about 35 years ago. Now, since then, we've had a spike, we've had an increase. Now, you're going to tell me you don't believe there's been an increase in temperature. Is that
No.
what?
Nope,
Oh,
I think it has warmed since 1975. I think it
okay.
has warmed since 1850. Nothing to be worried about, but it fluctuates a lot. There's tons of warming and cooling periods. I think it's cooled since the peak of the medieval warm period, I think, and it's cooled since the Minoan warm period. It's a lot cooler than it was 130,000 years ago when there were hippos in the Thames. It goes up and down a lot. Right now, we are much cooler, or we are cooler than most of the last 10,000 years, most of the last 500 million years. We're in an ice age. It's the whole idea that the Earth is too hot right now is preposterous. It's absolutely not. As you know, cold weather kills way more people than hot weather. So this whole idea we should get all worked up by this fake spike of doom is it's not a non-starter.
Okay, now if I can just bring you back to
Okay.
the to what we were talking about. You've marked this as the current temperature. It's not the current temperature, is it? This is the temperature going back to the 1980s, the last time there was proxy, because you've taken out all the instrumental temperature data, which you don't think ought to be in there. You've taken it out. So this is not current temperature. You do agree that since those proxies in the 1980s, we've had about 30 years of warming. You do agree with that, do you?
We had a hiatus in there. We've had some mild warming since then for sure, but we had something like a 15-year hiatus. There was all these questions. Why the hiatus? Why didn't it warm? We got 60 different explanations for why it didn't warm. So the whole idea that it's just slowly warmed because CO2 is the climate control knob, it's not. We've had some warming since the 1970s when there was a cooling scare. There for sure. It cooled. I lived in the 1970s. It was cooler in the 70s than the 40s. And it warmed up to the 40s, and then it cooled from the 40s to the 70s, and then it warmed since then. And the whole idea that we know it's just going to keep warming the rest of this century, I'm betting against that because climate changes on many timescales, and CO2 is not the climate control knob. And I don't know if you believe in that. I would like you to weigh in on that part. Is CO2 the climate control knob?
I'll take that as a yes to answer my question. Have temperatures increased since the 1980s? Right.
Yes.
So,
Yep. Yep.
yeah, right. So
Yep.
what you're showing here is not current temperature. So you've
Yeah,
done
I mean, any graph, if any graph you make, as soon as the day later, it's not current, right? So,
okay.
yeah,
So
whatever.
you
Yeah,
didn't say that this was 1980s. People get the impression when you say current temperature, you're
yeah.
talking about the temperature over the last, let's say, 5 or 10 years. But clearly that's not the case. So this is not current temperatures.
How much warmer do you think it is now than it was 10 years ago?
It's I think since the 1980s, it's since 1999 when Lundqvist did his graph. It's about 0.7, 0.8 degrees centigrade warmer. So if you
Well,
actually
wait a minute, wait a minute. How much warmer it is since the 90s?
about
You think it's almost
0.7,
1 C warmer?
about 0.7, 0.8.
Really? How much do you think it's warmed since 1850?
I've got no idea. I can't remember the figures. I
Okay,
can't remember the figures. But if you don't believe that,
I don't believe that.
okay. Well, here we've got GISS, and this is the 2024 figures, which when you talk to people about current figures, you could quite easily have picked 2024 because we have the figures in. Oh,
Okay, this
actually,
graph looks completely
the movie
fraudulent. This
2024, you could have done
yeah.
it for 2023. Okay,
Okay, this graph, let me weigh in on this. This graph is fraudulent. It's showing every year since since the 90s, every year was warmer than the warmest part of the 1940s. That's fraudulent. No way. It was
okay,
very warm in the 1940s, so I'm not buying this whatsoever. And you can look at like the U.S. Hot temperature records. We have 50 states, and the high temperature records, something like don't have it here, something like 35 or 38 of those were set before 1940. If you look here in Minnesota, where I'm sitting, just as another example, it hit 100 degrees here in the 30s and 40s. It hit 100 F. It hit it 38 times in those 2 decades. Since 1988, it has hit it 8 times. So this whole idea that it's way warmer now, it's not. If you look at the record of heat waves, it was hot back then. My dad is old enough to remember it was very hot back then. And the whole idea that all the years, that whole huge set of years is warmer than the 1940s, it's not. I'm not buying it.
okay,
Totally not buying it.
just a reminder to people who may have lost the thread, what we were discussing was whether
Yep.
it's warmer now than 1999 and by how
Well,
much. Now,
okay.
the figures that I have here from GISS, which is does ground temperature data, 2024, you've got 1.28, 1.19, depending on whether it's a smoothing or the annual mean. And if we look back at 1999, it was 0.47 and 0.38.
Yes,
That's about
that does not agree at all with the satellite data, which I think is our best data set.
okay.
98 was a warm year, and the idea that all these, I don't know how many years, is it 20, were warmer than 1998? The satellite data does not agree with that whatsoever. It's way
Well,
different.
you're in luck because I got the
Yep.
satellite data here.
Yep. Hmm.
And if you look at 1999 and compare it to 2023 or even 2024 when your movie came out,
Yep.
um, that shows about 0.7, 0.8 degrees of warming as well.
But look at all the years. There's that spike in the late 90s, and your graph is saying that almost all the years since then were hotter than that spike, basically, and they were not.
Okay,
Yeah, that's a pretty big difference. Yeah.
that's the satellite data that you said you believe in. Now, so if we go back to the Lundqvist reconstruction and we look at that dotted line, which takes us up to 1999, in fact, you can add on to that the warming we've had since then. And so when you say that that's current temperature, it's clearly not. It's not even 1999 temperature. So that was the criticism I had. You don't seem to accept that because you think, well, as long as I believe that that dotted line is not right, I'm not going to show it to people. And what's worse, I'm not going to tell people I've taken it out. I'm going to reproduce that graph, but just take it out, not let anyone know. I'm going to pretend that's current temperature. That was the problem I had.
We showed his actual graph, as I've said many, many times. We showed the actual graph. So let's go back to that graph, if you
Well,
would,
hang
and
on.
tell
Are
me
you
about the rest of
saying,
it. No,
hang
tell me about
on,
the rest of it.
hang on.
Yeah.
Before you just go with that claim, Tom, are you telling me that in the film you showed the original Lundqvist graph? You're saying you thought you had that in your movie?
The actual result of his study, yes,
No, not
without the
result.
instrumental.
I'm saying, did you show the original graph in order that people could compare to see what you took out, what you airbrushed out of it?
We showed the actual result of his study, of his proxy study. We
Did
did.
you
And
show
yeah,
this original?
his
I
actual
saw
result of his
it. It's
study.
not
Yep.
in there.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, your dotted line of doom is BS. So let's go back to these fluctuations here. Do you believe in the fluctuations yourself that are shown in that graph? Go back to the medieval warm period, that one. Do you
This one.
believe any of those
How
at
do you
all?
mean?
Or do you
How
think
do you
the handle, you just think they're, because CO2 didn't change much, then those warm periods, the cold periods, they didn't happen? Are you denying the little ice age? You're denying the cold dark ages before that? Do you deny all of those fluctuations? That's a huge portion of this. Or do you think, what do you think?
I don't know what you mean by do I believe in it? This was in a scientific paper. I'm not going to look at
Okay,
yours.
so it's in a paper, so you believe it? You believe in the medieval warm period and the little ice
It's
age?
not a
Because they
question
were
of
an actual
believing.
thing. I'm very curious if you're denying them. It's a
It's
very
not.
important point. Hmm?
It's not a question of believing or disbelieving. What I do is check and verify stuff that goes on the internet, and your stuff is all over the internet, Climate the movie.
It
And
is millions of views. Yeah.
I just checked your sources to see whether what you're actually showing people
Okay.
is a faithful reproduction of what you're
Okay.
supposed to say. And in this particular case, it isn't. My beliefs are neither here or there. I really don't care.
Oh, well, so tell me, what do you think the science says? Does the science say that the medieval warm period and the little ice age were real? What do you think? This is very important. What do you think the science says? I don't care about your belief. Do you think
I,
the science denies that those were real? Yes or no?
as far as I know, the medieval warm period was indeed a warm period. The question is whether or not it was global. Still not clear, but I did a video on this years ago. Now it's so
Okay.
long ago, I can't remember, but I think what I looked at when I looked at all the studies that have been done was that this was a global phenomenon, but that wasn't very clear at the time.
So what do you think caused it then? That's very important. You do believe in it, but what caused it then? It wasn't
Well,
CO2,
see,
we're told, because
I don't know why. I thought you were here to defend your movie, and now
I am defending. This is all part of
all
the
of a
movie.
sudden,
This is
the first thing I do is show how you airbrushed out warming, and all of a sudden you want to change the subject.
no,
Let's
this is
go back
all part
to
of the movie. This is in the movie, these warm
right.
periods. It's a critical part of the movie, and I'm defending it because it's very,
Now
very important.
you are the guy that wanted to talk about these. You put this down as your choice of subject. So let's
No, you came up with this idea of limiting the debate. That was your idea
no.
to limit it
Hang
because
on,
you don't
Tom.
want to defend all the things you said. That was your choice. I never even agreed to that. I'm defending the movie. We have
I,
a free speech in this country.
if you like, I mean, do we want to waste time on this? But I've got your email where you
Yep.
chose the three topics that you wanted to
Yep.
do.
I'm happy to talk about those topics, but not be limited to just those topics. I'm
Okay,
defending the movie. I
we
challenged you last June. I wanted to challenge you on climate, and you ignored that.
I,
And then later you said you didn't know who I was, even though you featured me in the movie
yeah,
multiple in your video. Then you said, "Oh, I don't know who this guy is." What was with
yeah.
that?
I didn't know who you were. I didn't know. If you'd
Even
said,
though you
oh,
featured me in your video that you just put out, you featured me. You looked into my background and stuff, and
okay,
you said I
listen,
was a.
is this
You,
what you want to spend an hour and a half talking about, or do you want to defend your film
I want to
against
defend
what
that
I
film.
showed to
Absolutely,
be
100%.
fabrications and
Let's do it. Let's
misrepresentations?
do this thing.
Okay, so what you're seeing now is the Markot graph. This is the one you
Yep.
wanted to talk about, right?
Spike of doom. Yep.
Oh, I'll tell you what, it's saying your free meeting will end in 10 minutes. Should we adjourn and then log back in and then we'll go into the Markot one? Is that
All
okay?
right. Let's do that.
Let's do that. All right.
Great.
Tom, can you hear me?
See.
Ah, there you are. Hello.
Okay. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Thank you for doing this. This is
That's
wonderful.
all right. Hey, that looks like a beautiful backdrop. Is that photoshopped or is that your real?
I spent $1.50 for this. It's just a green screen background. Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. I thought you meant
Okay.
a beautiful part of the world.
Let's see. Let's see.
Uh,
I couldn't
Sorry,
hear you perfect.
I am recording this through Zoom, but you're recording also at your end, are you?
Yeah, I did not hit record yet. Let me do that now. Make sure it's
Okay.
working.
Yeah, just as a backup, just in case mine doesn't work. And I'm also going to have.
Yeah. All right.
Um,
And if either one of us has a problem, we can send the full copy to each other, right? Let's
let's
do
do
that.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would like that. I'm not the most technically minded person
Okay.
in the world. Oh, hang on. For some reason, it's saying I don't have a card in here. Just a minute. Let's put that in. Ah, I don't know why, but it's not. Sorry, just give me a second. It's
No problem. Yeah.
just doing an audio recording. Um, I work in radio and I'm used to backing up everything because
Good.
you sometimes you do half an hour's recording and discover at the end of the day that there's nothing.
Yeah.
It's always good to
Yep.
have a backup.
And I
Uh,
can't tell if I'm recording. I sent a request to record, and you have to say yes, I think.
oh,
I don't know
okay.
if.
Hang on. Yeah, requesting a chord, approve. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. Now it's saying card protected. Just a minute. It's a good thing you're early. We got a few minutes to sort of sort this out.
Yeah.
Card access. Ah, that's working. 1, 2, 3. Yep, that seems to be working all right. Okay. Ah, okay, perfect. Just a minute. I've got to find it first.
See, I've done close to 300 podcasts, and I've coached a lot of people through this. It's a three-step process on Zoom. You have to have your graph ups in some window. Then you hit the green share button. Then you select which screen you would like to share.
Right.
That's
Oh,
step 2. And then step
ah,
3 is to hit the blue share button.
okay. Sorry, I'm not seeing it at the moment. Just a second.
Okay.
We might have to edit this out.
Oh, well,
I did warn Tom, I'm technically
yeah,
incompetent when it comes to
yeah.
doing things like this.
I'm hoping to put it up unedited, but let's see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. I mean, well, this is all part of the process. Now,
Yep.
sorry, Tom, I'm looking at the main Zoom screen. I've got the meetings and the one that we're
Yeah.
in. Let me
Yeah.
go
There.
back. Ah, here it is. Share.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. Let me put this up then. Now, are you seeing the screen at the moment?
I am not. Nope.
All right. Let's try that
Okay.
again.
Now something's happening.
There you are. Okay.
All right. I see something.
All right. So this is, I mean, this is not controversial. This is something you put on
Hmm.
X. And
Yep.
just want to show the slides.
You want to be in slideshow mode there.
Yeah, there is a slideshow mode. I'm trying to find it now.
Yeah, it says slideshow kind of in the middle. It says home, then insert to the just directly. It's in the middle. It's under animation slideshow. It's kind of the second row down under your red bar.
Right.
There's a red bar that says PowerPoint, etc. And then there's a slideshow button to the
Yeah.
left of your cursor where it is now. Go over to slideshow.
Oh, there it is. Sorry. Yeah.
Go a little
Slideshow.
more. There you go.
Slideshow.
And then play from start. That'll do it.
Oh, and then from start. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, sorry about this.